Welcome to episode 11 of the Football Frame of Mind podcast. We are giving you the best football content out there, the best football content we can give you. We want to make sure that you enjoy all of our videos. We have our preseason playlist from college football available. So check it out. It's really cool. But before we even get into today's episode, how you doing, bro?
Are we ready to go? How about you?
Good. Ready to talk some AFC football today. So we're gonna break down the
Mm-hmm.
AFC conference, starting with the AFC South today. So obviously we start with the champions of the division last year, and that was
Mm-hmm.
the Jaguars. Surprisingly, after that Urban Meyer debacle a couple of seasons ago, Doug Peterson really changed some things around between him and Trevor Lawrence and a host of defensive players that are kind of playing real good. They turned it around and turned it into a playoff appearance. So, what do you think? Is this a flash in the pan, as we say on this show, or is this something that can be sustainable? Because I like what Doug Peterson did, stabilizing that franchise.
I'm gonna kind of build on what you just said. I really like Doug Peterson as a coach. I think he's really good at developing quarterbacks and getting the most out of his talent. Uh, as you know, and I've talked about on here, that I haven't always been the highest on Trevor Lawrence, at least at college. But man, he made me a believer last year, man. Trevor Lawrence really took major strides, and I consider it his rookie year because I really don't want to count that first one. It just, like you said, a complete debacle. Uh, Man, they've got really good talent on that team. They've added Calvin Ridley. You still have Christian Kirk. You have Evan Ingram. You have Travis Etienne. That defense is getting better. The offensive line, they've signed a few guys as well. No, I don't think it's a flash in the pan at all. I think last year was a year for Doug Peterson to put a statement in the ground and say, hey, we're here. We're building the culture. We're here to play. We're not the Jaguars with Jack Del Rio. We're not the ones with Doug Marrone, not Tom Coughlin, none of those guys. I think that for real, I don't know if they're going to build on and win more games this year, but I definitely would think that they're the favorite to go and take that conference. I mean, that division, though.
Yeah. Judging off of everything that's going on in this division, I agree. I think they're gonna take it because I think they have the best quarterback out of all the teams. And obviously this is a quarterback league. So if you got a good one, you'll win more games than the latter. So I think the Jaguars will definitely be back at the top of this division. But like I said, we're not gonna just shut out all the other teams. We're gonna talk
Okay.
about them too. But second in this division was the Titans. Obviously, definitely a step back last season. But gosh, I don't know their quarterback's name.
They've got Ryan Tannehill as the starter, but they've got another two guys. They've got Malik Willis and
There
Will
we go.
Levis.
There we go. Malik Willis. That's the name I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
I think he should be the starter. Just because they need some excitement, man. I mean, yeah, he may not be the best passer, man, but shoot, neither is Tannehill. So you might as well just kind of let Willis do his thing, because he's an athlete. And obviously, they got Big Derrick Henry there. It's a lot of talk about him being on the trade market, which
Mm-hmm.
to me is like eye opening because if you trade him, you're basically tanking for the rest of the
You're
season.
going into complete rebuild mode. That's the last big piece you have on offense. You get rid of him, and that offense is going to be stagnant because you have no receiver help at all besides Traylon Burks, and I don't even barely consider him receiver help. So,
Right. So you already got rid of Brown like last year, so
mhm.
or year before, so you already know, you don't have any trade capital to really get away. But like I said, what do they do with him? That's my biggest question for the Titans going into this year.
Mhm.
Like I said, it's gonna be interesting because they're gonna feed him but I don't think he's gonna want to sit around and rebuild, man. Like I said, not
Mhm.
sure about the contract situation, but I do know that like he's not gonna want to rebuild, man. Like nah. And they've had some great running backs that come through that Titans Oilers franchise. So
Mhm.
um like every one of them never really ended well with the team.
Yeah, it kind of seems like it when you think Will Campbell left. Eddie George, he ended up leaving. Chris Johnson ended up, I forget exactly what happened, but I don't believe that ended well. And now you have another perennial Pro Bowl running back that you're probably going to have to dump off for little to nothing, unfortunately.
Yeah, so like I said, we discussed on this show that the running back is a quick position when it comes to shelf life. So like I said, you want to maximize your value when you can. But like I said, I don't know, man. And like I said, the defense for that team has been very good with Jeffrey Simmons and those guys. Um
Mhm.
really big time players, man. Rashawn Evans, I believe is still there. But even even with that being said, they have some great players on defense. So for them to have any success, I think they should go with Willis at quarterback and try to ride Henry as much as you can, man. But um, that's all you really can hope for. Because if you put Tannehill out there, you know what you're gonna get, and that is second in the division, and the division that is this kind of close in teams. Uh, you can't have average play at quarterback going into some of
Mhm.
these divisional games. So I think they have to do those couple things while staying good on defense to even touch the Jaguars. So, but like I said, we discussing all the teams in this division, which is like I said, a cluster. I think the NFC South and the AFC South are two of the conferences or divisions that are going to be close because the teams are like this close, and the only thing that's separating them is a good quarterback. So,
Mhm.
like I said, with this team, the Colts they finished third in the division. So, what do you think about the Colts, man?
I mean, they're kind of in a weird predicament. They got a first-year head coach in Sean Steichen, which I think he was a really good offensive coordinator for the Eagles. You got a rookie quarterback with a lot of raw potential and raw talent. You still have Jonathan Taylor. You still have Michael Pittman. They didn't make a whole bunch of splashes in free agency. I think the Colts are still a good team, but I just think kind of like Tennessee, not in the same way, but I think there's still a lot of questions. How are they going to develop Richardson? Are they going to let him play right away? Are they going to let him sit for a few games and try to get some of that know-how? Is the defense going to perform? If they get Richardson in the game, are they going to be able to compete with some of these other teams offensively? Even Tennessee, I mean, you never know if they get Derrick Henry going. I mean, that's a guaranteed $150 if he gets going really good. You got guaranteed touchdowns there, and the Jaguars have weapons like we already stated. Uh, I think the Colts overall are not in a bad place,
Hmm.
but it's kind of up in the air to me. I mean, I think they have a lot of potential. It's just what are they going to do with that potential and develop it?
Understandable, man. Good points. I'm not even gonna lie to you. That was good points, man. Like I said, I have questions too. Like I said, obviously we both know they have uh AR-15 Richardson there. So he was one of the interesting prospects in the draft this year. Like, where was he gonna go? Because they
Mm-hmm.
knew his size was undeniable at quarterback. Like that's what you look for in size. And then he's got an interesting skill set that you've seen work, obviously with Michael Vick, and you've seen it work with Lamar Jackson of sorts, and maybe a Russell Wilson. We'll throw him in there, who's a better passer than runner. But having that dual threat capability, it works in the NFL, man. So in the right circumstance, right? So um I love the fact that they took him. They knew that they needed a splash because they didn't have a quarterback. Not going into the season
Mm-hmm.
with Sam Ellinger as your starting quarterback. No knock on him, but it's not gonna win you games, you know what I'm saying? So But some of the questions I have for them moving forward is so do we ride Jonathan Taylor or are we riding him for the rest of the season? You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
is he the vocal point of our team? Like do we go as he go to take the pressure off of Anthony Richardson, or do we just let him go because he's a creator? That's what he does, right? But how many games can we win like that, right? So I'm leaning towards more of them being able to use Jonathan Taylor as their big
Mhm.
piece of their offense. Defense, I mean, defense is okay, but I mean, they're just gonna have to and to win this division, defense really isn't going to be the biggest thing because it's going to be about the quarterback play. Because if your quarterback's not playing well, you're not even going to win anyway. You know what I'm saying? So your defense is
Mhm.
just going to be there making plays because the quarterback is not very good. So, like I said, I just think they might let Anthony Richardson do his thing, man, because they spent the last 2 years with kind of journeyman quarterbacks. We're talking Matt Ryan and Philip Rivers. So
And Carson Wentz too.
right, so these journeyman guys would but like I said, Philip Rivers coming there was a great thing because
Mhm.
I don't know if they make the playoffs, but I know he got to resurrect his career a little bit because of the divorce with San Diego that was kind of rough
Mhm.
at the time. Then Matt Ryan, I think he had a lot in the tank when he got there, but it was just it's a little rough, man, because you get a new spot, man, and you can't shake that Super Bowl loss. So even if you had a lot left in the tank, man, that emotionally I think wore on him more so than he let on.
It affected his play and how he made decisions. You could tell, like he just looks. How would I say? He looked really stiff in the pocket. Like he
Yeah.
wasn't making plays that he would normally be able to make.
Yeah, so like I said, man, but like I said, those guys were good experiments, but Wentz just was not. And we know about Wentz, obviously with our NFC North, NFC East conversation. But like I said, I just hope they got a good young quarterback and a nice run game, and I think it'd be good, man. I think it'd be good. Like I said, I don't see them getting the division title in year one, but having a new coach, having a new quarterback is fresh ideas. So let's see where it goes, man. They haven't really been a team that we've been looking out for a while. So like I
Hmm.
said, man, be interested to see what they do. Like maybe a sleeper team because like I said with the Carolina Panthers analogy, when you're starting new, you can easily sneak up on people.
Hmm.
So
And they're in a division that it'd be easy to kind of creep up on people anyway, because nobody thinks a whole lot of the AFC South as of right now. So.
exactly. So like I said, it's one of those divisions that you can have a 12 win team and nobody even knew that they were that good. So, but
Hmm.
yeah, man. So as we move forward in this division, man, we got the Texans, man. Obviously, Lovey Smith was a rental last year, along with the guy before him. They were rentals to try and just kind of build some draft capital and see what you can do, man. Obviously, them trading for their left tackle.
Larry
Laramie
Tunsil.
Tunsil. Yep. That that didn't work out too well. I'll say that. Because you gave up a lot of good pieces to give him up to get him, So
He's a good player, but just probably not worth all that draft capital you gave up.
exactly. So but like I said, I digress with that. Obviously, that was the Deshaun Watson era. He is no longer there. And like I said, their last two coaches were rentals to get to this point. So they brought in D'Amico Ryans, former player, former Alabama player too, by the way. Don't get that. But one of the hottest commodities in the offseason, man, as far as head coaching candidates. So I think he's going to bring in some new ideas, and it's good to have somebody that's been there. Now, sometimes it doesn't work out having a guy that's been in there because a lot has changed since he's played there. But
Mm-hmm.
he's coming in almost exactly how he came in when he played. Because if
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking correctly, he played with Derek Carr. They were a new franchise. Not Derek Carr, David. David.
I think he came in the Matt Schaub era.
He
I
came in
think
to match
they
up.
drafted him when they had traded. I'm pretty sure, like around that time, they traded for him from Atlanta. I think it was around the time he got drafted in like what 2006, 2007, something like that. Maybe
This
I'm
is
wrong.
this is one of those things in the episode where we have to look this up, man. We gotta
Well,
find
trust me,
out
I
the
keep my
truth.
phone right there. I understand.
We got we got to find the truth. Well, um,
I
not
think
too
that
much
was after
time.
David Carr.
No, because David Carr was there like 04. So D'Amico came there in 06.
That's what I'm saying. Like right around Matt Schaub getting into Houston before that took off.
Man, hold on. Let me see.
Because I want
Yeah,
to say one of those years following that he led the league in
yeah.
passing yards.
So they kind of overlapped a little bit. Overlapped like by a year or so. Like either he was
Mm-hmm.
coming in and that was David Carr's last year or whatever. But either way you slice it, he's coming into a situation that he's familiar with. Like he has a young
Mm-hmm.
quarterback to work with.
Transitional year.
Yeah, he has a young quarterback to work with. He's got a blank canvas. I think believe they got CJ Stroud and they got Will Anderson. So
And
you
they
got
got Tank Dell from Houston too.
yep.
And he's
So
really good.
yeah, so like I said, you have you coming into a situation where you're familiar with what's going on. Because you got young quarterback, whether it's Matt Schaub or David Carr that you're working with on defense. So you know, like, hey, we got to get some stops to get this guy comfortable, right? But you're in also a great situation because you got Will Anderson too. So you got two franchise cornerstones in the draft. So building up between those two guys can really be a good start for a young coach. So like I said, I don't expect them to have as much success, but I expect them to be way better than the win total last year.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So yeah. So what you think about the Texas man before we get up out of this
Man,
breakdown?
it's probably not going to be a very popular pick, but I'm high on Houston. I'm not saying, oh, they're going to make a playoff berth, but man, like they did really well in the draft. They brought in Dalton Schultz from Dallas. They got Devin Singletary from the Bills, and they got some wide receiver depth with Robert Woods too.
Bro, why I think Devin Singletary played with the Bears?
Mm-mm. You're thinking of some. I know who you're thinking of. I can't think of his name.
Was it?
But
Yeah,
dude,
yeah.
I think Houston. I think Houston's gonna be really interesting. Obviously, everybody was gonna pick Bryce to go in one, but I don't think people understand how pro ready CJ Stroud really is with his arm talent and his ability to put the ball in places a lot of other people can't. I'm not gonna go out on a limb and say Houston's gonna win the division. I don't think that's gonna happen. But they're definitely gonna. I could definitely see Houston getting any upward of like 7, maybe 8 wins for sure. And I think as a first year in Houston for D'Amico Ryans, I think that would be a big W for sure.
Oh yeah, man. Them winning. I think they won like 3 games last year or something like that. Something crazy small. But anything above five, I think is we're trending in the right direction. And so, like I said, we broke down these teams, man. But I think the Jaguars are definitely going to be number one when the playoffs start. So, but like I said, man, we are moving towards the best segment of the show. Transitioning to the top 5 segment. So you lead the way this time, bro.
Cool. Oh, and by the way, I got Tennessee finishing last in the AFC South. I think they're going to completely fall apart. By the way.
Well, hey, that's not. Hey, look. We'll go back to the top,
Yeah,
top
you're
5
good.
segment. Hold on,
So
hold
if we're
on.
going to top five, we're
Yeah.
doing top five. We're doing top five head coaches in the AFC South, and I obviously would think that this list wouldn't be very big, but I've got 6 guys. I got an honorable mention. I got another 5 guys that I think would fit the mold of top head coaches in this division. So if I'm gonna go with my honorable mention, I'm gonna put Gary Kubiak in there. Honorable mention. I think he was a pretty damn good head coach in an era where Houston's defense may not have been the very best. They had D'Amico Ryans at the time. You're rolling with Matt Schaub. You're rolling with Arian Foster. You're rolling with Andre Johnson. Pretty prolific offense. I think he led the league in passing yards once or twice. Didn't have a whole lot of playoff success, but as an offensive guru, I think Gary Kubiak's a really good coach and probably doesn't get enough credit where it's due.
Okay. Okay. All right.
And number 5, I've got Jack Del Rio with his time with Jacksonville. I think he's one of the longest tenured coaches in the division. You got to think he's been responsible for drafting guys like Maurice Jones-Drew, David Garrard, Byron Leftwich. I think he was the coach when they still had Fred Taylor and some of those other good guys at the receiving corps. I think Jack Del Rio is another really underrated coach that, just for example, when he was with Oakland before they moved to Vegas, I think they had went on a 12-4 year with Derek Carr until he broke his fibula, and they just fired him out of nowhere. They didn't really give him a chance to prove that they could do it again. Very underrated coach. I really like his attitude. I like his style. I've got him at number 5.
Okay.
Number 4, I've got Mike Vrabel at 4.
I like that one.
See, I like Mike Vrabel. Up until recently, I mean, they've been at least 2 AFC title games. They've had some really good success, for sure. Obviously, he's still coaching there, and I think as time goes on, as long as things don't go too sour, he'll definitely climb on this list. I'm rooting for him, being that he's from New England. I think he's got a good high football IQ. I think he's really good at developing his players, but I've got him at 4 right now.
All right, I think he's been the best, one of the best assistants to come from the Patriots in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, it's been a rough for some of Belichick's assistants.
That's a segment in itself. We could talk about that another day.
Yeah, but he's definitely one of my favorites. I like the way he has his team. Sometimes just like when teams just run the ball, man. Run the ball and good
Mm-hmm.
defense, man. It's not exciting, but you can crush the will of a team and just see him just quit on the field. Like I
Mm-hmm.
just kind of like the way he played. Like they made my Baltimore Ravens like quit that day. And that was tough, man. I ain't gonna lie, that was tough to watch, man. But man,
So
yeah, good team.
with my number 3, he's not a very liked coach, and he gets a lot of flack. But you can't deny the statistics and the wins he has. I got Jeff Fisher at 3.
Okay.
You got to think he was one goal line play away from winning the Super Bowl with Kevin Dyson at the end zone. Just couldn't get that ball over the goal line.
He missed it. 1 yard.
Really good game, by the way.
1 yard.
Really good game. If nobody's ever watched that Super Bowl, it's a really good game. But
It was.
man, Jeff Fisher is a really underrated coach. Obviously, he definitely has a lot of weaknesses. Uh, didn't show a whole lot of success after that, and continued to get jobs over and over and over. But I think as a body as a whole, if you're just looking at his career and his mentality, I don't think Jeff Fisher is a bad coach. I just think he doesn't make the greatest decisions in game or as an organizational standpoint. All right. So obviously we've got our honorable mention. We've got Jack Del Rio at 5. We've got Mike Vrabel at 4. We've got Jeff Fisher at 3. If I'm going to go number 2, probably a guy that I don't really remember he coached it. I got Tom Coughlin when he was with the Jaguars in the 90s. Man, to take a franchise pretty much off the ground when most people are going to think, oh, mediocrity, or they're going to struggle. Man, he really got the tires spinning on the concrete, man. They freaking made back-to-back AFC Championship games with Mark Brunell as your quarterback, really underrated left-handed quarterback. Jacksonville was really exciting to watch at that point. And I mean, if you look at Tom Coughlin's career as a whole, obviously he goes on to New York. He wins 2 Super Bowls with Eli Manning, 2 Super Bowls that I don't really like to talk about for obvious reasons. But in due time, obviously we'll go through that. But Tom Coughlin, that was the beginning. That was the beginning of him like establishing himself. Like I said, he ended up going to New York, but his time in Jacksonville was very memorable. And I feel like a lot of people should give him credit for what he did for that franchise so early on.
And I think they fired him too soon, honestly.
They didn't give him enough. Like they didn't win it, and I think like a season after that, and they're like, okay, we're just gonna cut ties.
Right. And
But
I was like, I think his second tenure with the Jacksonville Jaguars was too late. It was too late. Like the
yeah, and
game,
he wasn't even the coach at that point either. So.
yeah, the game had changed to the point where you can't win with Fred Taylor like you could with Leonard Fournette. You can't do that because the game didn't change so much.
Mm-hmm.
So but like I said, there's no doubting how good he really was.
Definitely. And
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you're gonna have the same number one as me, but we still need to give credit where it's due, and that's Tony Dungy. I mean,
Yeah.
what he did with that Colts team, what he did with Peyton Manning, man, like you got to think that's some of the best games you could have watched anytime during the early to mid 2000s between him and Brady and him in Baltimore and him in Pittsburgh. Man, the Colts were consistently in question to be the number one team in the AFC every year besides the Patriots. I mean, Tony Dungy wins the Super Bowl with Tampa Bay, leaves, comes to Indianapolis, takes him a little while, but has a perennial powerhouse, finally gets over the hump and beats Chicago in the Super Bowl, establishes himself as a more of a Hall of Fame head coach. Very underrated. A lot of people don't talk about him. But definitely what he did with Peyton Manning and them boys, he's more than deserving to be number one. I think it's by a landslide. I don't think anybody's close.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna be honest. He didn't win a Super Bowl with Tampa Bay, but
Well, you know
he
what I
he
mean. You
was
pretty much.
responsible. He was
That's what I
responsible.
meant. That's what I
He
meant to say. I mean,
that
you got to
that
think
was
John Gruden pretty much took over his team.
Yeah, man, that was his squad, man. But like I said, man, going into that, that could be a part of our closing arguments. But we'll get into that a little later. But yeah, but Tony Dungy is definitely a great number one. Like he won so many championship games. He won so many not championship games, but division titles, a whole bunch.
Hmm
Like they put a lock on that for at least 8 years straight to the point where
Easy.
wasn't nobody winning. I mean, I think the Titans had a little run where they went like 14-2 or something like one of those things, but that was
hmm
like the only time they really anybody else really won that division. So but yeah, I agree, Tony Dungy. So all right, great list, man. Great list, great list. Like I
Let's see
said,
what you got.
I think my list will end up in the same place as yours with Tony Dungy because he was just that good. But leading up to my number one, we're gonna have some differences of opinion. So, all right, so number five for me is Doug Peterson right now. Right now.
Yeah, I mean, I could understand why. I just can't. I just couldn't do it off of 1 year. But he's literally on the cusp of, you know,
I'm talking like I'll put him five just simply because of the mess he had to clean up when he got
from
there.
Urban Meyer. Hmm
Yeah, so having to come in and just kind of settle down everybody, like, yo, look, I'm not him. I'm not gonna do that. We're gonna ride Trevor Lawrence and he's gonna take us to where we want to go. We got a host of young talent, and we're just gonna erase whatever happened the year before. We're just gonna go back to playing good football. And like I said, I love what he did. And shoot, he's a good coach anyway, a Super Bowl winning head coach. So let's just
hmm
add that to his resume. So I think that all time he's definitely on. He's five to me. Like because to fix that mess and then go to the
Do it in
playoffs
such a quick time,
go to the playoffs right after that.
and
Like
then knock off the Chargers in the playoffs with Justin Herbert.
exactly. So, like I said, that shows that you are a good leader of men. and you got them on the right path, man. So definitely out of all the coaches, definitely 5. And I love me some Jack Del Rio, but I can't put him over Doug Peterson, man, especially coming in after that mess. Because the mess that Del Rio came into was way less than what Doug Peterson had to deal with. So Doug
Mm-hmm.
Peterson, number 5. Number 4, Gary Kubiak. Gary Kubiak, number 4 for me, because he was the one to fix the Houston Texans, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
The Houston Texans obviously started in like '02 or whatever, and they had Dom Capers as their coach, man. And he definitely built. He definitely. I'm not gonna say that he didn't have success because he did build that team up, right? But Gary Kubiak put it all together. Like
Mm-hmm.
he put it everything together. They start making the playoffs and becoming a real team rather than an expansion
Mm-hmm.
team. I feel like with him, they shedded that expansion team mindset and they actually wanted to win. He put some good
Mm-hmm.
players. He obviously he built around Matt Schaub, and he has some great players to go along with Arian Foster, D'Amico Ryans, who's the coach right now, was very big on his
Mm-hmm.
defense. Mario Williams was still there, so they had some great players on defense. But I think Gary Kubiak stabilizing that offense definitely helped them become a playoff franchise rather than just a expansion team. So definitely number 4 for me, Gary Kubiak. Number 3, it's Tom Coughlin, man. I would love to have put him 2, but he just didn't have time. But the impact that he had on the Jaguars to get them to not only 1 but 2 AFC championship games within his time
Back to
frame
back.
there, that definitely put him high on my list in terms of coaches in this division because he had a host of good players, man, that could really ball, man. He had 2 really good receivers in Keenan McCardell and Jimmy Smith, and they would just run over everybody. And obviously Mark Brunell, getting him, I want to say out of the expansion draft or something like that, but getting him was big
Mm-hmm.
for their success, and he just rolled him, and that was good, man. Like I said, tough end to his career there, but like I said, he turned that into what 2 Super Bowls and legendary status. So, um, like I said, number 3 on my list. Number 2 is Jeff Fisher for me, man, because consistency out of all the guys we've mentioned, nobody has been more consistent in terms of win totals, staying in the picture, not getting top 5 picks or whatever, but just consistency. And he was the most consistent guy that I think they've had in their franchise, man, because they go back to their Oiler days. This is 2 franchises we're talking about, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like I said, man, he was consistent then. And one underappreciated stat is I think why he was in St. Louis so long after we lost a lot of games, because he has an interesting skill set to be able to coach through an expansion year. Because you
Mm-hmm.
understand he was the head coach before they moved to Tennessee,
Mm-hmm.
and he was the head coach before they moved to LA. So that's an interesting
Mm-hmm.
skill set to just try to keep the product on the field good enough to keep the fan bases interested as he moved to another city. So I think, like I said, I think he did good in that retrospect. But consistency, man, was his biggest thing. Obviously, his biggest claim to fame is going to the Super Bowl as a wild card team. But I don't think that gets enough shine because
Mm-hmm.
um, to go through the teams that he did to get to that Super Bowl was out of this world. Like you beat a Ravens team that had arguably one of the best defenses ever. Now, obviously, they were inept on offense, but the fact that you were able to coach your team through that, I think, is very good. And like I said, he's number 2 on my list. And number 1 is Tony Dungy. I mean, like I said, he is a player's coach if I ever seen one. All his players love him. They played tough. They won a lot of games. And that Tampa 2 defense was absolutely, it was actually underrated, man. Underrated as far as because Peyton Manning gets all the love, but defensively they were actually doing pretty good out there at times, especially with those
Mm-hmm.
defensive ends, man. Mathis and Freeney, like
Like Serena.
they was out there
Mm-hmm.
playing. But as far as him and his coaching career, I think you talk about consistency. He's been consistent, but it helps to have Peyton Manning at quarterback. But like I said, other than that, man, to keep everything good, consistency, winner. But that's the best coach in that division. Period. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
There's no argument there. I think it's pretty solid of an argument. I don't think anybody else compares, but
Nah, nah. But if I had to say, as we transition into the closing argument segment, if I had to say, um, I think Doug Peterson can do that. I think he can
yeah,
do. I
I
think
think
he
if
can.
anybody's got a shot,
Yeah, I think he can do consistently, like win. You know what I'm saying? I think he can consistently win with them because he has a proven quarterback, man, and an
mm-hmm.
owner that is looking for some stability, man. I think ever since Khan took over, it's been kind of turbulent in terms of the coaches. So I do think he's looking for some stability. And obviously, after going through all that Urban Meyer to the point where he had to say something, because when owners have to talk to the media, it's not a good thing usually.
No, it's never supposed to get to that point.
Yeah, but when he has to come and say, "Hey, the state of my team is not in a good place," and I have to really look at some situations. Like he had to really say those things, like underneath that microscope, like that. Like, yo, look, my team. It's a lot of stuff being said, and I'm looking at my team, from internally. Like, don't worry about that. We gonna figure this out. Because
Mm-hmm.
like I said, I think he has found his stability, his stabilizer. And Doug Peterson, man, I know one thing: quarterback play is not going to be an issue. They're going to get him together, and I think, like I said, I don't think Trevor Lawrence is going to be a Peyton Manning type guy, but having him as the best quarterback in the division right now is going to win you a lot of games for the next 4 or 5 years because I don't think the Titans are going to figure that out anytime soon. And I don't think the Anthony Richardson is going to figure it out that fast. And I don't think CJ Stroud's going to figure it out that fast. So you're going to have at least 3 or 4 years to where you can make a run at something. Like I said, all you gotta do is get to the playoffs, man. So, but like I said, man,
Where where do you see the rest of the division falling then? If we're both consensus that you see Jacksonville and I see Jacksonville at one, where do we see two, three, and four from your perspective? And I'll give you mine.
okay, 2, 3, and 4, interesting. Because you said before we got into our top 5 segment that you thought Tennessee was gonna be at the bottom, and I kind of agree with you. I kind of agree with you, because they don't have anything that makes me want to say, all right, you'll be there, at the end of the season. Because obviously they have Derrick Henry, which is something, and they have a defense, which is another something. But this game is about quarterbacks, man, and I just don't believe in Tannehill if he's the guy. If they start Willis, I think they could finish second in the division if they start Willis because they'll have more of a running game. Like you ain't really got to pass because you got Derrick Henry. Like if you gotta go aggressive and go for it on 4th and 1 all the time, like play field position or something like that. Like I think you can win with Willis more so than Tannehill because he's shown that he's just not that guy. But if I had to go right now, since we don't know who's starting and we don't know anything, I think they finished last. I think the Texans. I think the Texans might surprise a few people, and I think they might finish actually second. And I think the Colts finish third. So I got the Jaguars, I got the Texans, I got the Colts, and the Titans. That's how I think they go.
Yeah, I definitely see Tennessee struggling. I think they're going to start out the year with Tannehill. I just think I don't see any reason why they wouldn't, just because he's been there. Now, they start to struggle a couple weeks in. If you drop a couple of games, yeah, I could see them wanting to either go with Wills for a game, or they might even try Will Levis. We don't know. I'm not sure how they're looking. We're going to get a better look at them in preseason.
Oh, that's right.
But yeah,
They
I
do
think
get better.
Tennessee is just. I don't want to see Mike Vrabel struggle. But yeah, they're not giving me any reason to put them anything higher than 4. So I've got Tennessee at 4. Man, I really want to put Houston at 2. I'm really high on D'Amico Ryans, and I think that offense has a lot of potential.
Me too.
I'm still gonna say Houston at 3 because Indy still has Jonathan Taylor. That's like the only thing that's keeping me from putting them there. But if JT gets hurt or he fights with injuries and he's not playing up to the same caliber as his 2 years ago, then yeah, I definitely could see Houston sliding into number 2 under everybody's nose. But as of right now, not pending injuries or anything, I've got Jacksonville 1, Indy 2, Houston at 3, and Tennessee at 4. But I would not be surprised if Houston wins 8 games and they slide into number 2.
All right, most definitely, man. Hey, that's a good point, man. Like I said, I think we kind of mirrored each other on that one a little bit. Give or take a couple things that could go wrong, but I do like what you said about Houston. They have a really interesting path to winning the division. Like they have a lot of tools to win, man. Like I said, you can sneak up on somebody in year one
Telling you, dude.
of a new coach and can shock everybody. Like I said, I've seen it
He's
happen.
got weapons, man. I'm telling you, CJ Stroud's the most pro-ready quarterback
I
out of
think
this
so too.
class. And Bryce Young's a national championship winning quarterback. He's a Heisman winner. But if I'm going off of somebody that's the most pro-ready, CJ Stroud's the guy. And if they can get him with confidence and that offensive line protects him, he's got weapons. They signed guys in free agency. And they drafted another good guy, like I said, Tank Dell, one of the better receivers in college football last year. Houston could really surprise some people. I like D'Amico Ryans. I'm starting to like CJ Stroud. No bias, but yeah, I could definitely see that offense getting hot for sure and surprising a lot of people, including Jacksonville at some point. They're going to play each other 2 times a year anyway.
Right. So they're gonna get well acquainted. But
Now, do you see Tennessee trading Derrick Henry?
uh yeah, I do. I
I
see
think
him.
he's in a contract year. I think this is like the last year of his deal, and he's trying to play to get a better extension, if I'm not mistaken, or a new deal. I don't know.
If
But if that's the case, then I could definitely see them trading him off for something else because I doubt that they want to tie all that money into him, even if he is questioned with a better tailback.
no, I agree. I agree. That's why I said, yeah, I think they trade him because I don't think you can, as the season goes on, his value depreciates even more.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're gonna have to make a decision early, probably in the preseason, like the training camp part of preseason, to really kind of see what you want to do with him, like because I don't know if you're gonna win many games, man. Like just I just don't. I don't know how you're gonna win many games playing like that. Like if you're going to play
Mm-hmm.
like Baltimore and run with the quarterback, cool. But Lamar is a very underrated passer to the point where you can make some plays in the pass game. I don't know if you make those plays in the pass game with Willis like you would with Lamar. So playing that style doesn't
I'm
seem.
just not sold on Willis.
I'm not either, but I just think that's like
You
the
got to
only
mix it
way
up.
you're gonna win some games this year. Like if you play
Mhm.
that way. So that's my whole thing. I think they
Yeah.
trade him before it gets too late in the season so they can do their thing. Like I said, this is episode 11 of the Football Frame of Mind podcast. Like I said, we enjoy all of the attention we've been getting on this program, man. We just want to keep giving you great content, man. But anything you gotta say before we get out of here, bro?
Yeah, we want to thank everybody who's been taking time to watch all our videos, taking the time to subscribe, all those things. We're greatly appreciative. Without you guys, we wouldn't be in the place we are right now. And we just pray and ask that you guys would just continue to just be faithful and check things out. Like we always say, like, comment, subscribe. And when you subscribe, make sure you hit that little bell notification so you don't miss a video. Got an entire playlist full of college football content that you guys should really check out. And once you're done with the college football stuff, you should continue to watch our NFL content. We're done with the AFC South. Next episode is going to be the AFC West, then East, then North. We've got plenty of stuff to talk about, so you guys should definitely stick around and check it out.
I couldn't have said it better myself, man. All right, like I said, I'm Cam. That's Brandon. We up out of here. Peace.